Welcome. Fireside chat commencing. As I like to call it, story time.
There is the fire.
Yes, the light. I just want to say thank you to all the speakers today and all the participants for your time. And special thanks to one of my dear friends and customers that I'll let him introduce himself. But first, I'm on the sales team here at Acceldata, Michael Garrett. Been in software sales my whole career, so about 30 years. And Arvind?
Hi.
What do you do? What did you do? Don't tell what you do now. Go to what you did when we did our thing.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
It's part of the story.
I used to run the data practice. So it included engineering platform and AI teams. So it's a big remit, a lot of exciting stuff. And as any other telco, there's a lot of cost pressure. And that's exactly where Acceldata came into the picture. Some really meaningful conversations. I was just telling Mike, as I look at some of the stats that show up on the screen on either side, they are like so appropriate. And I was asking Mahesh, I need a copy of all of that because I'm going to use it for my business case at my new role as well. And that's the reason I have a new role, and that's the reason it says ex-Verizon. But very excited and pumped about all the great things that we have done together.
So let's talk about, applause, great, thank you. Let's rewind a little bit.
Cheerleaders here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where we started, right? I joined the company almost 3.5 years ago. And one of my first orders of business was, okay, we've got AT&T, we got T-Mobile, we got to get the big dog. Can you hear me now? So started doing what sales guys do, roaming around in the organization. Take us back to how we began, and then we'll talk about what we did.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I think the USP for Acceldata was very clear. So that's the first thing I would just say. First conversation, I got it really quick. I say, what? Oh, the value prop is right there. Super easy, great efficiency in terms of cost, as well as the capabilities, additional capabilities that you brought. We were a big Cloudera shop. At some point, used to have ownership over Yahoo assets. Yahoo being the creator of Hadoop and all of the good stuff. So we ran a massive cluster, actually multiple massive clusters. So we were on the path to figure out, is it good timing to take some of that to the cloud? And what do we keep on-prem for regulatory and legal reasons? And we had a mixed bag. So we did take some of the stuff to Google Cloud. And in hindsight, probably not the best decision. And probably we needed XDP at that point. But we were looking at ODP with CDP, and we did a lot of evaluation, comparisons, and whatnot. But I think the value was very, very clear. I don't think there was any doubt in anybody's mind in terms of the value and the savings. It was just right off the bat. However, it took us a lot of time to get through the process, as it does in large corporations. So we went through the cycles. But the interesting part of it is we didn't even start talking about ODP as the first use case or first product from Acceldata standpoint. We actually started looking at ADOC. Data quality was a key challenge. Observability for pipelines, data observability, lineage. This was a big challenge as we were looking at it. We had, I think last count, a couple of weeks back, we had over 120,000 dashboards in the company. We are a big company, we have a lot of data, we have a lot of data assets and a lot of dashboards to go with it. And it was so hard to figure out where is the data coming for all of those dashboards that are getting fed, and who's actually using it, how often are they getting refreshed. Some of those things are just extremely hard to do at scale when you're talking about tens of thousands of dashboards and assets that are out there. So that's exactly where we started having those conversations. But then it quickly morphed into the ODP discussion because the value prop was just right in front of us. Mm-hmm. And I know we kind of put you to the ringer in terms of the capabilities, the evaluations, the business cases, and you've been in the trenches with us, so that speaks volumes as well.
Thank you. Well, not to mention also the political changes, organizational changes, right as we were coming down to the wire. CEO making changes, all sorts of pressures that we had to navigate through, and the value prop really just proved it out, right? That we were able to move forward and get things done. And that's a great story, and I appreciate you sharing, how we started with ADOC, and coincidentally, we're back there now, with, trying to deliver some key value points around that pipeline challenge. But let's catch up for a minute. We've been talking a lot about agentic and AI and ADOC, but the open data platform is a key thing for us. We obviously, you're a huge customer migrating all of your Cloudera stuff to us. Tell us a bit about how that's going, because I think it's going pretty well. I want to hear it from you.
No, actually, it's interesting. I was talking to Mike, I was talking to Ashok, wherever Ashok is right now. I was talking to him and say, hey, how's the program going? That is how smooth the transition or migration is going. I probably have not seen, and I'm not exaggerating here, I've not had a smoother migration, touch wood.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. Like, really, I think, I've done many, many migrations over the last couple of decades of working in data and technology organizations. By far, the smoothest transition. I think the migration has just been so seamless from CDP to ODP that I actually have to go poke people on my team or my partners at Acceldata and say, hey, exactly what is going on? I don't hear a beep. And I hear like, oh, everything's on track. We are actually going to get done ahead of schedule. I'm like, hang on a second. That's music to my ears. Getting a fairly large, and we have a few thousand node cluster on CDP, or used to run on CDP. We moved a bunch of things to ODP already. And we are doing a staggered migration for obvious reasons to maintain and mitigate business risks. And doing this over multiple services, multiple applications, like 20+ applications that are running and hitting this data day in and day out, going through this migration, getting it done before the planned time frame, and actually being told that we are actually slowing Acceldata down. The team wants to move faster and can move faster. We are actually, because we wanted to maintain the staggered approach, we are actually going a slow roll, and by far the smoothest migration. Thank you. Actually, not to you, to Ashok and team, wherever Ashok team is.
And I want to give a shout out to the customer success and engineering teams, particularly the ODP engineering team that are behind that, a driving force in, and we're doing this in other places as well. And it's really makes me proud to hear that the team is delivering. So that's awesome news. Let's chat for a little bit about your recent change and where are you now?
Yeah, very exciting, times. I spent a long time at, so after about 22 years, I left. I'm actually doing something with a larger remit with FedEx. I'm super excited about the opportunity and stoked about it. FedEx is a company that runs purely on data. Anything and everything, from the first time a label is created where you want to do a shipment, all the way till it's delivered, or there do happen some very few issues where deliveries are rescheduled, you got to go pick it up, all of that, everything goes through data. And we generate roughly about 2 petabytes of data on a daily basis. We're shipping, at any point in time, every day, about 15 million plus packages. And this is something that I came to know, that they have a fleet of 200,000 delivery trucks and vehicles, over 700 aircrafts or planes, which actually is, I think, the top 5 or top 7, whatever, in the world.
Air Force.
When it, if you just look at it from comparing, against airlines, major airlines. So it's a massive operation, very complex. Data and AI is at the core of things. It's a super exciting opportunity. That's what I've kind of jumped into look at what the new challenge is and how I can take a lot of the learnings over the last few decades and a couple decades and just apply it here.
Well, they've got a good guy, that's for sure. And I remember when we got the call, we were a little surprised, like, whoa, what's going on here, man? That's our, our guy. But, you've shared with us some of the things that you have, you've only been there a few weeks and you're, doing the OODA loop, right? Observing, orienting, and figuring out what you got and what you can do. And I'm just learning this from you as well. But, FedEx is, it seems, a cloud-first company, right? So maybe just a couple high-level points on the big thing that you shared with me that you have in front of you around cloud migration and what are some of the key challenges you see in that and how we might be able to help.
Absolutely. Like one of the things I see in the stats, again, I love those, by the way, Mahesh. We need a copy of that again. Just put a reminder. Majority of the large corporations are going to continue to be a hybrid landscape when it comes to data. And more, the need to move data, the need to centralize data is going away. We have a hybrid ecosystem. We have connectivity through MCP where you don't have to build new pipes. You can go and get data from where you need it for your agentic use cases or otherwise. So I think the movement of data is a theme from yesteryears that's slowly going away. It's going to take some time for it to fully go away, but I think there is always the challenge of physics where you need to solve the problems of giving performance and SLAs for use cases that require data right then and there. And having it over a hybrid ecosystem, it's going to be hard to solve some of those problems just yet. But in the meantime, while you stay a hybrid ecosystem, I was curious about, we have some data in Azure Data Lake, we have Databricks, we have some in Google Cloud, some in a colo environment, running a bunch of databases and whatnot. So I was curious and I was talking to Chandra. I was like, hey, can you tell me, how do you think about this kind of problem? And I'm sure we're not the only ones who are looking at it. And Chandra goes, oh yeah, let me just whip up this XDP demo. And we started with slides, and I'm not a big slide guy, so 5 minutes in, we were like, okay, do you have something to show me as a real demo? And he whipped up a sandbox, and we started looking at the capabilities, and then we get into nuts and bolts of it. And the first thought that popped in my head is like, oh shit, this is XDP is a Databricks killer. And I was like, this is going to make rounds. This is going to make rounds. I think the capabilities are there. I think the biggest thing, and Databricks has done a really good job over this last decade or so, where it provides you the optionality that you can run it in any of the cloud providers. With XDP, now you have that taken into the next gear, higher level. You can run it on-prem plus cloud and in any combination. That optionality is what companies are going to look for. And I think some of the investor conversations with Rohit, there was a conversation about people are moving things to the cloud, people are repatriating back to on-prem. There's a lot of this combination of things going on, the activity in the industry, and I think XDP is like the perfect solution. Keep data where you want, use compute resources, whether it's CPU, GPU, tomorrow quantum, wherever it's available, where it's cheaper, and you process it however you want, without necessarily having to migrate. Your code stays in Spark, Trino, and some of the other engines. And that is a dream come true. I know it's going to take some time to drive adoption and get there, but XDP truly is, in my mind, a Databricks killer.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome to hear. Reflecting on what you said, as a frontline salesperson, it's like, okay, why is anybody going to talk to me? What do I have? And Rohit, we talked about this in the small group yesterday evening. Like, where's the money? Why? How am I going to help these companies save money or make money? That's my job. And ODP certainly does it. XDP does it. And ADOC does it in a slightly different way, but certainly with agentic, it's making things easier and simpler, and giving customers trust in their data. Anyone have any questions? Got to have something. Who am I going to call on? Because I got called on yesterday. I'll call on you. You called on me.
It's Mike for you.
So Arvind, rate of data change, obviously exploding. Do you guys think about that on an active basis in terms of what is the real management policy for that? And the reason is I'm also looking for product advice for us because, we deal with about 100 plus petabytes of data on a single instance. But soon, and it may happen in the next couple of years, we might have to be, dealing with about 500 petabytes of data per enterprise because of the number of applications I'll get, through. How do you guys think about that? Hybrid is obviously one solution, but, does that feature at a board level from your perspective?
Yeah, for us, I think, I'm actually in my new role, I'm actually getting in front of the board next month. So just having some conversations around it, prepping for it, whatnot. So very timely in terms of the question. I don't think the volume of data anymore is scaring people, right? I think what scares people and what is concerning people is obviously the cost, the risk around how you govern all the data, secure the perimeter. As you start putting things in a hybrid ecosystem, the surface area for threat is increasing drastically. So you got to keep everything in check. You got to make sure the quality of data is good. And as you go into the more of the AI and agentic realm of things, everyone is worried about, guess what? Cost of tokens. Where is Ashwin? Ashwin is just, I think, probably using all the tokens in 1 month, in an hour. There you go. So I think that is the big, next phenomena to people to really think about how you're managing costs, mitigating the risk around that, mitigating the risk around, the surface area from governance standpoint as well as security perspective. So these are critical topics. And that's where the observability play. And I love the fact that actually, I want to say this, in February, early February, at Gartner, we were having a conversation. I know you were not there, talking to Joe and some of the other folks. And I said, look, I think you have the observability from a data pipeline standpoint. You do this for ML and some of the AI construct. How about we bring the same construct to MCP and agentic? Mm-hmm. And I think, we started like on the back of the napkin, started drawing some things out. And then, I went away. And then a few weeks later, I got a call saying, hey, the capabilities that you're looking for is ready. And I was like, hang on a second. You already built this? So it was pretty phenomenal to get the pace of acceleration. And that's something that I don't see from the larger players. Mm-hmm. So I think speed without losing the opportunity cost for business to continue to move forward and get value from the data while maintaining a good, decent cost footprint. I think those are the key challenges, top of mind considerations, not necessarily the volume, because they know the technology teams got it with help from partners like yourself.
Thank you. That was great. Anyone else? Question for Arvind? I'll take a question as well. It may not be. Going once? Going twice? No? Okay. Well,
sold.
Yeah. Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Looking forward to doing good things.
You got it. Thanks, MG.